every action scene is good to great to absolutely incredible and amazing, and it's like I would love to see something like this in live action. But how it's executed here is wonderful, and so I don't have any complaints of how the show looks or how the characters are moving, interacting with each other, and all the fight scenes are beautiful and vivid, and the color palette. I mean, this is this doesn't have like, you don't see any characters just wearing black leather, and everything's like blue and gray all the time.
Am I going to war or a circus?
What'd you expect? Black leather?
We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to my review for X-Men 97. Not just a couple episodes, Chad. No, my full season 1 review for X-Men 97. And, over the last several months in my streams and in the various other videos that I've made on my platforms, my multiple platforms, I've talked about the X-Men and X-Men animated series. I watched that series when new episodes were still coming out on television in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s. And the show, much like Batman the Animated Series, was my introduction to like Batman and the world of DC and superheroes. X-Men the Animated Series was my introduction to X-Men and Marvel proper. And I feel like that was the case for many kids my age at the time, for many millennials especially. Like with Batman, I fell in love with the show and started consuming X-Men content, comic books, films, you name it. I love the X-Men and many others did as well. Long before the Avengers just dominated pop culture, the X-Men were the premier Marvel team. Back in the day when it came to the comics, the most popular comics weren't Iron Man or the Avengers or anything like that. It was Spider-Man, it was the Incredible Hulk, and it was the X-Men. And the initial series, X-Men the Animated Series, was a success commercially and critically, which led to the creation of Spider-Man the Animated Series, which they also did a crossover. And also obviously crediting Batman with Warner Bros. We saw just a nice proliferation of animated superhero content throughout the 90s and well into the 2000s. But X-Men, obviously was eventually canceled for a whole host of reasons. And 90s animated Marvel, their universe pretty much died when Spider-Man wrapped up. Literally ending with Spider-Man interacting with his creator, Stan Lee. You can watch that episode. Spider-Man literally thanks Stan Lee, who is voiced by Stan Lee, for creating him. And he tries to find Mary Jane because Mary Jane, she was a clone from like Hydro Man, who was a creepy stalker, and she's in a universe. It was weird. It was weird. It was weird.
What? Spider-Man? Pam, hold my calls for a while. I think I've finally gone crazy.
But then it was announced that Kevin Feige, wanted to bring back the show with a sequel series, pick up a year after the events of that show in 1997 and include as many of the original voice actors from that series as possible, continue that continuity. And, I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's see a sequel to the series, help bring the X-Men back into the pop culture zeitgeist. A good start. I like that. And, I went in with very reasonable expectations when I started watching the show. And as of today, I have seen all of X-Men 97's first season. And I am still so surprised and floored by how excellent this show is. From the storytelling, the characters, the animation, this is a triumph. A triumphant return for the series, but just for the X-Men in general. It's one of the best shows of the year so far, which is saying something because we've gotten some great TV, things like Shogun and Fallout. And I put it up there along with those shows too. And it just shows how impactful and meaningful things can be done with the superhero subgenre. But, but before I even go into more detail and the emotional details of this series, and they do get very emotional, let me provide you with a bit of a synopsis. Picking up a year after the events of X-Men, the animated series, the X-Men are reeling from the loss of their leader, Charles Xavier, and must uncover a nefarious and genocidal plot that could not only doom all of mutant kind, but all of humanity as well. So, I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but after watching and just thinking about this series over the last really several months now, and coming off the last episode just a few hours ago, I think this is not only one of the best X-Men adaptations of all time, but also one of the best animated just Marvel projects of all time. Second, perhaps, only to the animated Spider-Verse movies that we've been getting these last couple years. This show does so much right in terms of the animation and action sequences, to the character work and voice acting, and the writing and mature level of storytelling. The show does something that I really admire with sequels to older animated programs. We've seen this a couple times before, but it's rare. And that's the fact that it has grown up with its original audience, but is still very respectful and reverent of what came before. You realize watching this series, this is being made by people that watched the original animated show as kids and knows the lore, knows the history, but at the same time, they're like, I want to write for this show and continue it on, but I want to write for people my own age. It's not just for kids, it's for adults, very much for adults. It's for all ages, which is pretty amazing that they are able to do what they are able to do with this. And that they had the backing of Marvel and had the backing of Kevin Feige and allowed them to do what they do throughout the show. It doesn't pull punches. And it leans into the drama and tragic nature of X-Men with so many scenes that are emotional and impactful. It made me cry, which I did not expect it to do that. I was like, it's going to, like, after those first four episodes, like, oh, this is really good. This is great. I'm loving the storytelling so far. It's character work. I love the dialogue. Wonderful action scenes. Great. But it's that fifth episode. It's with that fifth episode. And again, I don't want to get into spoilers yet. I'll save that for my spoiler review, which I think I'm going to do tomorrow. But it deals with the genocide of Genosha in such a powerful and well-crafted way that by the end of it, I was crying by what they do in that episode. And I didn't expect that. This show, this season, again, is just made by people that really care and truly understand who the X-Men and their supporting characters are, and does things with them that we have really even seen at all in the live action films. These people just get the material. And their love is shown in these episodes. Like the animation and the color palette and the fight scenes themselves, it's not the same style of animation from the series. It's actually better. That's the one thing that I've seen. So not everyone's saying this, but there's some people saying like the animation is terrible. I'm just like, what are you watching? What are you watching? I don't really understand that, saying like the animation is bad. I understand it's like, well, I like the aesthetic more of the original show or whatever, but people saying like the animation's bad. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I really understand that. It emulates the original style of the show, but the characters are moving and gesturing in such a way that just looks much more natural. Like you can tell they have a lot more money and are able to do more things that they would have never been able to do in the 90s, and also just having the access to certain pieces of technology, able to have these characters move in such a way on television. It's very impressive across the board. Like there's no, like I'm sure that there's moments where they're like, all right, well that character's not moving in the background or whatever, but there's so many amazing action sequences from the first episode to the last episode. It's like there's not like well that action scene wasn't too good. It's like every action scene is good to great to absolutely incredible and amazing, and it's like I would love to see something like this in live action. But how it's executed here is wonderful, and so I don't have any complaints of how the show looks or how the characters are moving and interacting with each other, and all the fight scenes are beautiful. and vivid, and the color palette. I mean, this is this doesn't have like, you don't see any characters just wearing black leather, and everything's like blue and gray all the time.
Am I going to war or a circus?
What'd you expect? Black leather?
You have such a vibrant color scheme throughout this entire series. We go to so many different locations, so many different like worlds, and everything like really stands out. But at the same time, they're very reverent and they adhere to the look of the original series. It's just with they're recreating it and creating new things within that world with better pieces of technology, which I think is great. But the thing, other than the animation, which is great across the board, the thing that I love about this show, and really it's the thing that I think we all love about the X-Men, is the X-Men themselves, the characters. And the series gives so much time to the entirety of the main cast and the supporting cast. I think a big criticism of X-Men adaptations, particularly when it comes to the live action films, is that they are always so Wolverine focused, right? Especially if like the original X-Men trilogy, it's the Wolverine show. Not to say that Hugh Jackman did a bad job. He did a very good job, and like X2 is probably my favorite of the original trilogy, of course, but it came at the cost of developing the rest of the X-Men. Particularly with the character of Cyclops, who I feel like has been viewed by a lot of people over the last 20 years now as just a dork, a dick, a pushover. Again, not Marsden's fault. It's the material that he had to work with. It was Bryan Singer, Brett Ratner. It was all these different people, and he never got his due in those live action films. And someone even argue in some of the animation. Although I think how the character was handled in the original series was good. And obviously in X-Men Evolution, I thought they handled him well there. This is the best that Scott Summers has been in any adaptation. They get Ray Chase to voice the character. Sadly, Norm Spencer does. They bring back as many people as they possibly could for this show. Sadly, the original voice actor for Cyclops, Norm Spencer, he passed away. I think he passed away several years ago. But I love how even in the first episode, we're like, we want to show off how great Scott is, how great Cyclops is, why the X-Men look to him as a leader, why he has earned his position as leader of the X-Men, and how amazing his powers are. And at least at the time of that first episode, what a great husband he can be. I loved how they showcase Scott throughout this entire season, and he goes through a lot. He goes through a lot this season. I mean, peaks and valleys, ups and downs, and it's like not only do they just lovingly showcase his abilities off in that first episode, it feels very much like we're going to focus on him since he never gets a focus a lot of the times. And so much of the season is about him, which is great. But I love what they end up doing with him. And even though he gets great action scenes, he gets a lot of dramatic scenes, a lot of crazy-ass scenes, and a lot of wholesome scenes, particularly with Jean and obviously with his son, Nathan Summers, because Jean Grey, also not Jean Grey, is pregnant in this particular season. And Jean Grey / kind of Madeline Pryor, she's voiced by Jennifer Hale. Catherine Disher does not return to voice Jean, although she does play another character in the series, which I think is pretty cool. So even if they didn't get like the original voice actor to come back, because maybe that voice actor's voice has just changed over time as they've gotten older, it's like, we still want you in the show. We're going to cast you as this supporting character, as this main lead. I think it's just such a classy-ass thing to do. Such a classy. Hell yeah! You guys know I'm a huge Jennifer Hale fan. Commander Shepard, Femme Shep, as I like to call her. She's great. She does a great job as the multiple characters that she plays in this show, both Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor, and they adapt the Inferno arc from the comics, and how they handle like Madeline Pryor in this show is so good. And this is another thing. I want to circle back to it eventually. But, there's like a criticism. There was a critique of the show that's like, oh, it's not sexy. They took away, Rogue's dump truck ass.
You must be exterminated.
Which, by the way, if you watch the most recent episode, they have not taken away her dump truck ass. But in any case, people saying like, oh, they're not, leaning into the sexuality of the X-Men, which has always been kind of a part of the comics. It's like, you haven't been watching then, because how they handle Madeline Pryor, Dommy Mommy Madeline, holy shit, they made her costume even sexier. In the series, in the X-Men comics, it's a little, it's kind of, it's not even practical. It's just like, this is a little too much. But like how they handle her, holy hell, she's gorgeous. And that's the other thing too. There is something for everybody in this show. And whether you're into the female form or the male form, don't worry, they got you covered. There are so many sexy scenes with all these characters. I mean, it's just thick. It's 3, if not 4 C's thick, filled with sexual tension between these characters. And they look great. The X-Men have always been sexy. Always been sexy, and I like that they really leaned into that with with Jean and Madeline Pryor. And people were saying like they took away the thickness. Then you gotta check out Storm in this show too, which they have Allison Seeley Smith. She comes back to voice Aurora. Storm in this, and she goes through a pretty tough time where she ends up at one point losing her powers. She has to find herself again, has to kind of reinvent herself, meeting another character, Forge, which is a big thing from the comics, like their whole love story. They explore that, which I think was handled very well for the most part. She gets a nice thickness scene. If you guys been watching my shorts, you can find out for yourselves because you'll see at the end of them. But I loved how they handled Storm. I love that she loves to go off on a soliloquy. She loves her monologues, and that's on full display. It's like, I call down the heavens and the lightning of Mother Nature. She does all that shit. It works. It's very fun. It's very fun. But they do a great job with her. Cal Dodd returns as Logan Wolverine in this series, too. And like I said, so much of many X-Men adaptations, they have always just focused on Wolverine. Like, he's always the lead character, particularly when it comes to the movies. Even when the movies are great, they always kind of did that to the detriment of the X-Men. And there's some great Wolverine-Logan moments in this series, but he's not the focus of it. He's a great supporting character. They have some great moments with him, especially between him and Jean and Scott and all that. How that's handled is very interesting. And all I'll say is, chat, he gets to use those claws. So remember from the original animated series, like, because his whole thing is he has stabby claws. Like his power, he has the healing factor and thing he can smell and all that, right? But like Wolverine's whole power is I have knives that come out of my hands and I stab people with them. But for the 90s show, it's like, well, you can't do that. And so oftentimes you can't have him like stab people. And so in the original 90s show, he would snikt and he's like, now I mean business. And then he would kick someone. This show, he's stabbing people. They give him plenty of people to stab, and it's very violent. He's cutting people's heads off in this show, chat. He stabs someone. He's like, I don't give a shit. For the longest time, people have told me, like, we can't kill you, can't kill that guy. I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'm going to kill him. And, well, you have to find out who I'm talking about, who he stabs. But I liked how they handled Wolverine in this. There's a lot of great moments. The last 2 particular episodes, they do something with Wolverine. It's like, wow, that's so cool. They adapted that for the animated show. I again don't want to say what it is, but I was like, how they handled it, how they showcased it, perfect. Lenore Zahn returns as Rogue. They do a lot with Rogue this season, and I think for a lot of people, episode 5 on. Like, they put a lot of focus on her there, especially of everything that happens in Genosha, and between her and Magneto and Gambit is great. I really love they do of her character. The action sequences that she gets, Shug, oh my god. The action sequences that she gets are amazing. Her dialogue is so funny. She's, doing all those crazy, like, I don't think anyone in the South says that, Rogue, but we'll go with it because it's very funny dialogue. She makes a lot of interesting choices this season. She has a great interaction with a certain Marvel character who I won't say, but it's just like, that's so cool that they have that kind of connection. That's interesting. Who's not an X-Man, but who is a Marvel character. And she gets some of the best, and she gets some of the best action scenes. And everyone who was saying, like, oh, they took away, which again, I was always joking about, Rogue's dump truck act. Because it's like, oh, clearly a horny animator is like, I'm going to put this in the episode, see if we can get it in there, And then, she's a very beautiful character, curvaceous, all that. And all I'll say is, people that were complaining that they took that away from her, you clearly haven't been watching the show. and you clearly haven't watched this an episode because they have a shot where you see everything. I was like, there you go. There you go, you horny sons of bitches. They gave her her butt. Her butt was always there. They never took it away. They were saving it. Because waiting usually makes things better, and then you got it. It's like, yeah. Like during my audio video commentary for episode 10, where you have a terrific action sequences with her, they have a shot. It was like, there it is in all of its glory. So settle down. Stop making your goddamn YouTube videos complain, because that's the only thing you can complain about at this point. Relax. They got it in there, okay? And I mentioned Gambit before. AJ Lukashenko, I think that's how you say his name, is voicing Remy LeBeau in Gambit. What they do with Gambit in this series is, I mean, honestly, it's the best that I've ever seen Gambit represented in an adaptation, to be perfectly honest. Obviously, live action, not much to, write home about. Not Taylor Kitsch's fault. Terrible material he was given, obviously. But when it comes to other animated adaptations, like the X-Men animated series has always handled Gambit pretty well, the original series. The other ones, he's always been more of not even like an X-Man. Sometimes he's just like a straight-up villain, not made much interaction with any of these other characters. But they really showcase his relationship with Rogue, which is going through a very interesting period at the moment, and how valuable and loved he is by the other X-Men. And he gets one of the best moments of the entire season. Some would say probably it is the best moment. And I think you can make an argument for it. And I really loved what they did with him. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that for right now. Adrian Hogue returns as Kurt Wagner, as Nightcrawler to the series, and he comes in at the halfway point. He's not there until episode 5 when we go to Genosha, but wonderful what they do with it. I've always been a big Nightcrawler fan. He's a Renaissance man of a mutant. He's just so interesting because one, he's I love that he's like the ugly one and yet he's still fucking hot. That's just so ironic. It's like he's the ugliest X-Men, but he's still extremely sexy. That's what it is with him. With that accent, with that voice, he's incredibly well read. He's very intelligent. He's funny. He's got like kind of a prankster, attitude, right? Very mischievous. He loves. He's an expert duelist, But they also leaned into his religious nature and his Catholicism. That's a big part of his character. And they didn't. And I thought they're gonna back away from it. They didn't. They actually embraced that and they use it incredibly well in a number of episodes, and even most recently in this last episode. And he gets some great moments. Like, again, I talked about how the animation's so good. Every animated sequence of Nightcrawler is breathtaking. If you were a fan, for example, of how the character was showcased in X2, right, which is one of the best openings to like a comic book movie. I think you can still make that argument to this day. It's up there with like the Blood Rave and in the first Blade movie, right? No doubt about that. Such a wonderful sequence, and I think a lot of people would put like Nightcrawler up there in the top 5 openings of superhero film, or top 10 or whatever. There's been a lot, but it's incredible. And they do like a particular thing with him. I want to say I think it's episode 8 where they really showcase his bamfing abilities, his teleporting abilities, and his tri-wielding. That's all I'll say, with swords. And I thought it was so cool. So I love what they did with Kurt. It was wonderful. A lot of this season focuses on Magneto, where we have Matthew Waterston, who voices Magneto in this. David Hemblin is obviously not voicing the character because David Hemblin had passed away. And funny enough, he was actually offered the role to play Magneto in the live-action X-Men film, but he was busy with another project, and eventually Ian McKellen got it. So it's kind of crazy how that worked out. But in any case, Magneto is awesome this season. Magneto is incredible. I mean, this is like the end of episode 1, so it's not much of a spoiler, but Charles Xavier in his will dictates that he leaves all of his assets and the X-Men to Magneto. And like the episode 1 ends with, it starts with Cyclops saying, "To me, my X-Men," which is a thing that Charles used to say. And then it ends with Magneto saying, "To me, my X-Men," being all sassy about it. I think you can make an argument that Magneto might be the best character this season. What they do with him is incredible. One, because we see a bit of a reform Magneto where he's like, okay, listen, I am putting aside everything, like my whole philosophy and my view of the world because I'm going to try to live up to Charles's standard. Okay, he struggles with it, but he's like, I want to work side by side of humanity so mutants can live free and we're no longer oppressed. And how they handle that throughout this season is great. Since he's featured in some of my favorite moments from this season. And things obviously change. And I love how so many characters in this season just inevitably say, Magneto was right. Magneto was right. And oh God, there's just like so many cool moments where he's just like, I want to kill you so bad. I want to kill you bigoted pieces of shit so bad, but I can't. I'm trying to be a little bit better. And it's so funny, but he's also just wrestling with all these feelings because he's a Holocaust victim. His parents are killed during the Holocaust. His whole family was wiped out. So he knows how horrible humanity can be. He knows the worst of humanity. He's experienced it. He's experienced it again. And I loved how they just handled his entire arc in this show all the way up into the end. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. He is a force to be reckoned with, but I just love the focus on him and how they initially present him and then inevitably where it later goes. But man, that whole statement of Magneto was right is like, yeah. Yeah. Ross Marquand is the voice of Charles Xavier. For those of you who will watch the X-Men animated series, this is not really a spoiler for the show, but for those of you who watch the original show, Charles is not technically dead. He's actually taken by the Shi'ar Empire and it recuperates with their medical technology. And really is kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to hang out with my sexy kind of like alien queen bird wife and just see how everything plays out. But inevitably he's called back to Earth to deal with the situation that has developed there. And first of all, I kind of thought it was just really cool to see, because the X-Men, people don't know, like the X-Men have gone cosmic before, especially with the Phoenix Force and all that. And so to see the Shi'ar Empire, to see some other cosmic Marvel characters involving Charles Xavier was like really cool in the season. I was like, this is really interesting. But inevitably when he goes back to Earth and things are not great, that's all I'll say. They're a little topsy-turvy. Very cool. Love his conversation. I mean, you always love a great conversation between Magneto and Charles, and they lean into that several times. Thought that's really cool. Like Charles is pushed to his breaking point. He has to admit to a number of past mistakes, that he's made and that he is incredibly regretful over, and he knows that he has, in some cases, possibly even irrevocably damaged relationships with a number of his students, and I really like that. I thought that was really cool. And how he gets some amazing moments, particularly in this last episode. I won't say what, but they do deal with Magneto and their relationship, and I feel like how that's handled is quite beautiful. And you do have villains in this season. You do have villains in it. You have Christopher Britton returns to voice Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister in this, Chad. He's Mr. Sinister. I love how you have Magneto. It's like, you let people look at Magneto. He's the X-Men greatest villain, right? But Magneto's been reformed. He's gone back and forth. You kind of understand his perspective, why he does what he does. Mr. Sinister is just a fucking asshole. He's like, I just love being evil. Like, that's his whole fucking thing. He is unapologetically evil. His whole thing is, I just want to create the perfect, superhuman. That's what I want to do. And I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to fucking butcher and tear apart and turn inside out to do it. He is a son of a bitch. And he is a son of a bitch in this show. He does some things that are foul. Very, very foul. That are very creepy. Involve a lot of body horror. He's a great recurring antagonist throughout this first season. Love how he's connected to something in particular. How they handle him, I'll say this, how they handle him at the end, it's like, good. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say about that. But the big bad of this season, and this is a bit of a spoiler, there is a big bad. There is an overarching villain that's working in the shadows. And it's Bastion. Actor Theo James voices Bastion. who is a sentinel, a biomechanical being, a sentinel human hybrid, who was created in the 90s. And this is the material that they're adapting. A lot of this season's adapted from a lot of the Bastion material from X-Men comics. And I'm unfamiliar with this character. I'll admit this. I'm not too familiar with the Bastion character or the Prime Sentinel program or anything like that. Of course, the Sentinels, Sentinels and Nimrod and Master Mold, they go into detail of all that stuff. So if you're into Sentinel stuff, you're gonna love this. But what they do with him is fantastic. And his whole plan, OZT, Operation Zero Tolerance, he is the biggest threat the X-Men have ever faced, I would say. And the stuff that he ends up doing in this season is just downright despicable and evil. And like the more you learn about him, the more you're fascinated about him and like who he's talking to and connected to. Is like, you've been communicating with all these other people this whole time to put this into place. It's just great. What a great villain. His monologues are intimidating. He's clearly a little bit off his rocker, but he's just compelled. He's compelled by his programming to just like, I just got to kill muties. I just got to kill them all. It's just what he can't even help it. It's because he is a sentinel. And I thought that was so interesting. And he's a lot of body horror with him. A lot of body horror this season in general. It's very grotesque. And I loved it. I loved it. I love this character who most people don't even know exists, like the mainstream. Not talking about comic book fans, but the mainstream don't even know exists. And they just do such a great job of making him threatening and creepy, and horrifying. And he's the biggest threat to mutant kind ever. And you see why, especially with Genosha. And the other thing is, lastly, because I'm coming out fresh after watching the final episode, 40-minute episode, which I love. These episodes all been long. They've all been 30 minutes, and this last one was 40 minutes, which is great. And they nailed the first season's ending. They just do. Both in terms of the emotion, the spectacle, and it does a great job of promising some amazing things for the future. I was like, I wonder if they're going to do a season 2. It's like, okay, season 3, obviously, like clearly they had confidence in this for a long time. They knew they clearly had something really good. And they laid the groundwork for a very interesting season 2. And X-Men fans will recognize some, even mainstream fans will be like, oh, which is, I think, really, really cool. And just as an aside, before kind of going into my final thoughts, the music in this show is spectacular. Of course, you hear the, bum, 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 all that. You hear the X-Men theme. It's wonderful. But like how the music throughout the show, and they do variations on the X-Men theme. They have like an operatic version that plays at the end of the first episode where they have like all these people like singing a chorus, just like, it's like, oh my God, this is epic. As a giant action scene is happening. It's just beautifully well done. I should definitely praise the composers and the people that worked on the music. It's great. It's great. But at the end of the day, it's such a loving homage to the X-Men and the original series and just other Marvel animated shows. And, it's obviously setting up future seasons of X-Men 97, like I said, which again, there are 2 on the way. And a number of the voice actors who I'm following out on social media, and they had some interesting statements. They're like, we have never been, like in their history of working on this show and like the original animated series, they're like, we have been just called in so much just to work on this and to read even more dialogue because the writers have written even additional stuff to expand our roles. And it's just really cool to read how apparently they're just so appreciative of being able to come back and voice these characters again, or in some cases for the first time. But to say like this is just great material, it doesn't even feel like we're marking it. It just feels like we're just really excited to do this. And I was like, man, it just makes you feel good. It makes you feel really good. And but this season, this is a backdoor pilot for other 90s Marvel animated characters. There's no doubt about it. And I would not be surprised at all if they announce in the coming days, weeks, but I would not be shocked in the next coming days if they announce multiple animated shows focusing on several other Marvel characters who may or may not appear in this season. This could be Marvel's second chance to create their own version of the DCAU, the DC animated universe, which star of Batman, Superman, Batman Beyond, Justice League, Static Shock, all that. The Zeta Project. This could be their second chance to do that because obviously, they didn't have the proper thing in place, the structure to do that with, X-Men, Spider-Man stuff. But they have a second chance to create their own version of the DCU with X-Men being the jumping off point and having these other characters that may or may not be shown that have played a role in this latest season or at least been featured in this latest season. And that has me very excited. Like, they could do that. Like, they have an opportunity because, the DC animated projects seem to be, not that there aren't great ones, there are. My Adventures of Superman, I think it's this week. I got to watch it. They're doing those new DC animated movies right now. But for the longest time, as you guys, I've wanted a sequel series to the DC, like Batman animated series, all this stuff. Like, let's continue these stories on. We can do this again, or at least start a new one of My Adventures. But Marvel has an opportunity to do that now, set in this 90s universe, and they've laid the groundwork. It's all fucking there. It's all there. It's on full display now at this point, and so it's like, just do it. Just do it. Just activate. I'm sure they will. But for right now, this is a great piece of animated content, just content in general. It's a wonderful story that they told. It's a wonderful adaptation of these characters. It's a wonderful continuation of the original series. If you love the original series, I think you're going to love this too, because it has grown up with you. And again, that's the thing I probably most respect about this show, is that it grew up with me, and I didn't expect it to. And so when I first watched those couple episodes, like, oh my God, you're doing something that is kind of rare. And I'm just very grateful towards it. So, yeah, I love this show. I can't wait for season 2 and season 3 and probably for some other 90s animated revivals of certain Marvel characters. But what about you guys? I'm very curious. What do you think of this show? Did you love it as much as I did? Were you mixed on? Did you not like it? Were you upset they took away Rogue's butt? Don't worry. They brought it back. Let me know.
5 minutes later.
What about you, chap? Very curious. Let me see what you guys are saying right now. Time to top DC animation. They have the opportunity to do so. They have the opportunity to fill the void. That's the thing. So if I was them, fucking do it. Do it. And it brings the X-Men back in the pop culture zeitgeist again, the great way, because everyone's talking about the show. Let's see here. So exciting. Is what Marvel needs right now. Another good point. Too tall? Yep. I'm so excited for future seasons of X-Men 97 because it's so good. Yeah. You have the opportunity. The series is so great. This is WinFox. Did they have your WinFox? Hope they bring back Spider-Man next. I'm not going to say anything. Quoting Shia LaBeouf, I know. Turn it to Shia LaBeouf. Just do it as him. They have material now to use it to your advantage, but in a good way, to the point where the animation storytelling is so good. Yep. Check that 90s Marvel animated user in my veins. Just... Biggie Smith with 100 biddies. Read your comments in a second. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Edgy Berserker says, I loved it. Osnick says, loved it. Edgy Berserker, you noticed the booty return? Oh, yeah. I was like, there it is. I knew it. The thing is, I never for a second thought they were like, they're going to find a way to put it in there. And they did it. I was like, there it is. When I post my audio video commentary for it, people go like, I see it. Yeah, it's fun. 10 out of 10 show. This is Biggie Smith. Thank you for the 100 biddies. 10 out of 10 review. Oh, thank you. I hope you guys liked the review. Hope you liked it. Thank you so much. Inject more X-Men 97 episodes into me. Put inside me. Bugs out. This show made me fall in love with the X-Men. Yeah, it makes you fall in love with the X-Men. It's like when you were a kid, when you watch this show, like, as a kid, you don't even know what the X-Men are. You watch, it's like, what the fuck? What is this? You're like, well, this is so cool. And then you watch, you're amazed. It's the best fucking show ever. It's so good. So good. One of my favorites this year. Also releasing this weekly was smart because people discuss it. Yeah, that's the thing. They had just had material to do so. Like, each episode was robust. It had a lot going on. Had a mystery element. It had all these beautiful scenes and character work. It's like they had the drama. And X-Men is a fucking soap opera, through and through. And they leaned into that heavily in the best way possible. So, yeah, I'm so glad they didn't drop this all at once because it would have been a flash in the pan. I mean, maybe we would have gotten the other seasons, of course, but have it be able to talk about it for like 10 weeks Literally 2.5 months was very smart on their part. Let's see here. But I agree with you, Edge, 100%. I guess I have to get around to watch. I recommend it. I think I might do a spoiler review for this tomorrow. Because I know I hinted at certain things, and I had to talk about Bastion stuff and Charles's fate, but there's other things in Genosha. Since that was such a huge, I have to talk about Genosha. It's a seminal episode, but there's more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more. This episode confirmed a decades-long debate over the fate of a certain redhead. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's all. Yeah, I know you're talking about Darkslayer. Yeah. Yep, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that particular detail tomorrow if I do a spoiler review. Just like me, that growing up with a show such as this and it evolving to what it is today makes us just feel fucking... It makes you feel good inside, yeah. Who would have thought? That they would have done this. I wonder if this will compel DC to... It'll either... I will be open again to either like a My Adventures My Adventures animated universe. Let's fucking go. Let's do My Adventures of Batman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. I'd be open for that. Either that or do the DCAU again. Return to that world. There is some things that will be missing that is difficult, especially with the death of Kevin Conroy. It's such a huge loss. I would not use AI to replicate his voice. Just get a new voice actor. Either have them emulate him or cast Bruce Greenwood or something like that. That's what I would do. But a conversation for another time. Long conversation. But agreed. Agreed, chillers. Theo James has been growing me as an actor since I first saw him in those Divergent movies. I thought he was bland, but his voice work is very impressive. As Bastion, supporting role in White Lotus Season 2. Dude is talented. Yeah, I need to watch the White Lotus Season 2. Season 1 was great. But him as Bastion is like, holy shit, what a great villain. Just I'm like, man, this guy is some bitch. Even Sinister's like, whoa. And listen, you gotta be fucking evil for Mr. Sinister to go, all right, well, hold on now. Like, explain this to me. That's evil. When you make the guy Mr. Sinister pause. Chris hits pause on the rogue booty and lets out a happy sigh, whispers, nature's healing. Nature is finally healing. Rogue's ass appears when it's in the mood. Yeah, it did. It was in the mood. It was in the mood. It was when it was kicking ass, too. Oh, so true. Sure got me to like Cyclops 10 out of 10. Yep. Yeah, they did such a great job of Cyclops. And they gave him a great moment. They gave him several great moments in this last episode. Yeah, I feel like a little weak hit again. So good. Shows overall 100 out of 100. Yeah. Do you hear Natasha Lyonne got cast in New Fantastic Four? Oh, wow. This cast, man, it fucking is. I was going to say, it's a stacked cast. Getting more and more excited for this. Yeah, I mean, all the casting, like most recently for it, has been really cool. Because he just had, what's his name? Ralph Ineson as Galactus. That's pretty cool. Natasha Lyonne, that's great. You have, Ruth from Ozark? Which is, I want her just to have that voice as Silver Surfer. I think that's going to be really funny. Mr. Finn, there's nothing fucking fantastic about you at all. I'm over going back to a weekly release schedule. Yeah, it's just easier. It's easier for, I think just for people in general. It's hard to do the binge thing. There was something that was really appealing about it at first, believe me. But, and I'm just speaking selfishly, just as someone who creates like content and reviews it and likes to talk about it in depth, it's just easier this way, whether you talk about it weekly or whatever, because it's like, I got to watch all of it, got to binge it, and then you don't appreciate it more. Like, I was able to sit with this show. Literally for like 2 months, if not longer, 2.5 months. And so I was able to, think about this or that, and it was worth it. And it was better for this, agreed. Still can't recover from the season finale in 5. Yeah, 5 and 5. Yeah, 9, they do, man. Yes, agreed. I think releasing this before Deadpool and Wolverine, yeah, that was also smart. Was probably smart because we are on X-Men High. Yeah, people, that was a very good decision on their part. So people would be like, I fucking like X-Men. Yeah, but no. Deadpool, Wolverine team up. That'll get people excited. I'll watch one episode by tomorrow night. Nice. I don't want to get into too many details about that last episode, but it's very good. Very good. Oh, man. Hamilton, you still have time to watch it now. It's all out, good sir. Now you can just watch it on your own time. Brian Singer, take notes. Yeah, back in the day, he should have. Oh, Lord. Well, now, yeah, especially now. Yeah, you're right. Bugs out. What do you think of that moment between Morph and Wolverine in the final? Bo DeMay had something to say about it on Twitter. I want to be careful with that moment about what happens. I think he did that for Logan. I don't want to go into detail, especially because it'll be. I'd have to say what something happened. Something happens to Logan. That's all I'll say. And Morph is comforting him, and he's comforting him in a way that would probably get Wolverine through it. That's all I'll say. In any case, that's how I read it. You know, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad, if anything. But, you know, is X-Men version of Batman made series? No, that's the last thing we need right now. Marvel, please keep going. Take notes on how to introduce the X-Men. Yeah, this use as a template. They need, and I think they will. I wouldn't be shocked to use some of the same writers. And I'm a Gen Z man. I just binged the original 90s animated series before this, but as a new fan, I love X-Men 97. Nice. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm just, you know, I was speaking from the perspective of a millennial, but, you know, for who grew up with this, who like watched the show, it was like coming out for the first time. But even if you're not, like, I would still recommend this show, even if you haven't even seen the original series. Maybe go in there with a little bit of context as to like, okay, why is Charles Xavier gone? Like, what's going on with that? And other than that, I think you'll be pretty good. You know, let's see here. We can find a great mimic to do Kevin with respect. Yeah, exactly. I would just get a new voice actor. I would not do AI. I hope they don't do that decision. That would be a huge mistake in my opinion. Bruce Greenwood could replace. He's a great Batman. He doesn't sound like Kevin, but he does a great Batman, and I'd be up for that. I just don't want him to be replaced by a robot. It's like either get someone who can mimic him, or you know, that person probably have a rough time at first because the fan base can be. But I'd be like, listen, you know, let's give him a shot, or get Bruce Greenwood, you know, who I think is a great choice. He's like probably my second favorite Batman voice actor. Nah, he makes this look like a bitch. Oh man, I just looked up Theo James. I have no idea it was the Virgin. Yeah, he does a great job. Does a great job. He makes Sinister look small time. That's the thing. You know, Sinister is kind of like, oh god. Oh lord. Galactus will sound like a character from The Vitch. Yeah. Weekly schedule is easier for me because Benji Straight. Yeah, no, it's an investment. It's an investment. You got all that. It's a lot. It's a lot. Too tall for someone who didn't grow up in the 90s is a good way to introduce the X-Men to new generations, but this series has been so good to find who the X-Men are and as a team and seeing the original series compared to this is fucking amazing. Yeah. Agreed.